Tony, I'd love for you to share just what was the inspiration for this book. And I know we're going to have you read different parts of this book as the audience is coming in. We're going to tease them because I know everything you do so well, and you've got quite a story. So why did you write this book?
Right before I answer that, Dr. Sarah Larsen, I'd like to just thank you so much for hosting this dinner at a book launch and having me on to talk about this book. It is very exciting for me. I hope to leave a couple people enthused, inspired, motivated, because we need that in this world of, just to be nice, I call it madness. What's going on is kind of not all so good. So we need a little break here. We need this fresh air. We need this inspiration. We need just something different. Just make us feel good. So thank you so much for hosting this and having me on. And I just wanted to say I've written a few books, but this book is very near and dear. And I forgot your question, but I just wanted to say thanks. See, this is what happens when anyone that's out there, when you write a book, it's just, you just can get all engulfed in it. And it's just such a great thing to write. So I hope to inspire a few people by the time we're done.
To inspire a few people by the time we're done. Well, we're excited to celebrate in many, many languages, including Sanskrit and Hebrew. When you publish a book, or the word for published or author means enlightened. And so there is, if you want to feel what it feels like to be with another, you've got to let your heart beat with them, is what we're learning through science, through heart math, and to celebrate together. And so for every aspiring author, for everyone that's wanted to release their work, for everyone that's wanted to create a novel or create a great work of art, to be enlightened, to be published, to be an author is quite a feat. And today's the day that you launched your book. And so this question is really about getting and feeling so comfortable about what's your inspiration for this book?
That's a tough question. My inspiration for this book is, I like telling stories. I like talking. I guess I like entertaining, but I didn't know that until this year, that I'm in a way a little entertainer, because I just don't think of it that way. But it just inspired me to just give and help people, which is what I like to do with my show. And I just want to be able to give people whatever it takes to just lift them up. So if I can lift up a couple people, I know I've kind of said this a little bit just earlier, but that's just the whole thing. Is it's a great story, and I want to give people hope. Now this book, it's PG rated. There's no swearing, there's no bad things. So any child can even read it. But there are some really dark parts in there. And I did not write this book with my co-author with anything of what's currently going on in mind. But as you read it, I'm like, there's parallels here, but we never intended that. And like today, some people, I mean, I know I'm speaking to people all over the world that are going to hear this for a long time to come. In just our Yelp alone, which is in the United States, it's a place where small businesses can get reviews on them. Just Yelp alone, 100,000 small businesses in a 3-month period left and never came back to business. That just gives you an idea of how catastrophic this is in the world. So we need some hope. What happens in the book, as we're writing the book, it gets very serious, it gets very ruthless, it gets very cutthroat, what these people do. And though we didn't write the book to show, let's say, the bad side of rulers, the bad side of people, it just kind of came out naturally. And again, it has no parallels, no connotations to anything that's happening here. And a world famous author, Leonard Carpenter, who wrote Conan, some of the Conan books, Conan the Barbarian, and one of his later books, Lusitana Lost, if I'm saying that right. I may not. In fact, I interviewed him a few years ago. He read the book today and he calls it very vivid and lively. And to have a world famous author read your book and then send you an email saying, how much he liked your book, it's like, wow, that is like so cool. And that's just the first review we got in. That's just live, came in right now.
That is live and came in right now. And so that's so exciting. The part that I want to start with, you're happily married for how many years?
I have to count. Give me a calendar. It's like 28 years, I believe, this December 26th. And it's not years of marriage, it's years together. And December 26th is not the year we got engaged, the date. It's not the date we got married. It's the day of our first date. So we always look at December 26th as our day. And I believe it's this December 26th, if I'm thinking right, calculating wise, it's 28 years.
28 years. That is extraordinary. And for yourself, right, with these 28 years, you started at 5 years old working, right? How does that story go? And then fast forward us to meeting your wife.
Okay. To start really fast, I really am Italian. You can tell because I have to talk with my hands. I really am Italian. I was born in Sicily, Italy. And at 3 years old, I came to the United States. And we moved to Chicago, where I promptly took a 2-year vacation. At the age of 5, I started a paper route job. And on Lakeshore Drive in Chicago, which I think is one of the coldest places on earth, because that Lakeshore Drive, cold wind on a winter's day in the wee hours of the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning. What am I thinking? It just goes through you. I mean, I'm talking literally 3 pairs of socks, 3 pairs of pants, a shirt, a t-shirt, a sweater, a jacket, a woolly head covering, 2 pairs of gloves. This is how I bundled up. And that wind cuts through you and you become frozen by the time you're done delivering the papers. But, we were, there's 6 of us boys, mother and father. Mom stayed home and worked. And dad was the only income earner, And back then it could have been maybe even $50, maybe up to $75 a week. That's all he made as a sheet metal worker, an immigrant sheet metal worker. And, every penny helped. So I worked because this is how I'm brought up in the world. I did my part. I wanted to help. So every week I would deliver newspapers, make a couple bucks and give it to my mom every week. I did that for 10 years.
Wow, for 10 years. And so you learned so much from 5 to 15, right? You learn so much during that. And what would be your takeaways that you learned between 5 and 15?
I learned the value of $1. And I know this sounds really weird, but $1 is so important. It is so valuable. I don't just throw it away, though. I give a lot. I give freely. I help people literally all over the world. But $1 is I understand the blood, sweat, and tears in $1. I understand what it takes. So I don't think of anything lightly. I have what I want. I've lived a good life, but I'm not the opposite. I feel I'm frugal somehow, and it's just ingrained in me. Give you an example, and I didn't know this back then, but in my later years, I found out. My dad, he's one of those, he worked 25 years at a sheet metal company, and he's one of those people, he retired from that, got another job, but he actually got a going away party and a gold watch. It really happened back then. You hear about him. Well, my dad got one. It was a really beautiful watch. The reason I bring him up is my dad would take the bus to work, and you take a bus one way and then you get what's called a transfer, and you pay 5 cents back then. And then that took him the rest couple of miles to work. Well, to save that 5 cents a day, my dad would walk that second leg of the journey through rain, sleet, snow, freezing weather, blizzards, near hurricanes. It didn't matter, to save that 5 cents. That was just what we had to do to survive. And I didn't know that part of him back then when I was doing my newspaper job. But that frugality and not being a spendthrift, I don't know any other way to say it. I mean, we give and we help, but it's just a certain mentality. Maybe I guess a good way to call it is old school, and it's a value that I think could be missing a little bit in society today. And I'm so glad that I inherited and this value was ingrained in me.
And this value was ingrained in you. How fabulous that. I think knowing the value of a dollar makes you grateful for your resourcefulness as well. And anyone that's struggling, especially right now during COVID and so many people being laid off and all of that, you've been, I mean, every kind of successful that you can. I'm looking at a lot of, your first job, high paying client in the corporate world. You left a successful job and you've made the #1 show in your category in Voice America. You're syndicated all over the country, if not all over the world, based on podcasting, right? What would you share? So this is a 2-part question, Tony. It's that first part is, you left a successful, high-paying career on purpose. Many people right now don't have the choice, but you left by choice. Why did you leave?
That is such a great question. I helped start an insurance technology company, and I did the fundraising. I've never fundraised before. I don't have a Series 7R license or anything, but I did the fundraising by just talking to friends and family about the company that we were starting. And everybody wanted to put money into it. So I would just say, go see this person. And in 6 months, through my efforts, $3.25 million was raised. And I took on the position of vice president, sales and marketing, because I like promotion. I like that sort of thing. And I got in close to, back then, about $1 million a year in revenue, just about, plus or minus. And I'm making very decent money in the 6 digits. So why would I leave? Well, when you're making whatever money you're making, whether it's $100 a week or $50,000 a week, if you're working for someone, and it depends, things can be different, but this is how it was for me. I was pegged. There was not much more room to go. Yet I was making tons of money for the company. I was making tons of money for other people through lead generation and marketing services that I provide in the company, because I was trained and self-taught in promotion and marketing. So in the year 2007, I believe, I had the opportunity to go out and start my own company doing exactly what I did, but this time I could control my own income and make more income as I wanted. And yeah, you go from 6 digits, a cushy, 40-hour-a-week job, to 80 hours, 100 hours a week, but you're having so much fun because you're in control. And I really liked that aspect. And I liked the fact that I could make as much money as I wanted, because it's up to me if I want to take the time off or not. And that led me to leave a 6-figure income job to start my own business.
A 6-figure, and wow. And what do you tell your younger self, right? That when you were leaving, was there fear? Was there, what was there? And what did you tell your younger self to be able to be not stuck?
I don't know what I would tell my younger self. That's a really good question. Buy Apple, buy Microsoft. What would I? Well, again, it's inherent in me, and I wanted more freedom. And I know it sounds weird, but it doesn't matter what income level you're at, because income is not something that's important to me. You're going to go, what? I'm on record. I am not interested in being a billionaire. I know things. I could do things to make more money, but it's just not that important to me. And I know it sounds really weird. I know it sounds really strange, and I'll have to do a lot of explaining.
It doesn't sound strange to Greg or myself.
Okay.
Neither one of us have ever been motivated by it's, I think, and I do believe this is from training in India, from coming from that world, that when there are certain people born with service, with a level of connection to life that's really, really deep. And their families had values that are passed down generation that has resourcefulness in it. Can I share something with you that's a little known fact about Sicilians in Sicily?
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
I'm in trouble now. We're going to talk Sicilian. Okay.
So I lead retreats to Sicily, and for years I've taken people there because the Sicilian language does not have a future tense. And so without the future tense in the genetics, in the genes, in the language that Sicilians speak and pass down generation to generation, there is no anxiety, or all of the shoulds that we have that are passed down, all of the energy of shame, guilt, apathy, grief, desire, anger, pride comes up. All of those lower emotions come up because there's a should energy, and the Sicilian language and the Sicilian genetics live in the moment, and they live for an energy of feeling the moment. It's so funny. I'd love to share the studies with you someday so you could really like understand the golden gift that your genetics are. Does that make sense to you?
I am impressed. I did not know that. I didn't know any of that. I used to understand Sicilian, but English American is my first language, written, spoken, and so forth. And I used to be able to understand Sicilian, but not be able to speak it very well. I know very little of it. I don't have any Sicilian friends or anything to actually speak it with, but I didn't know those factors. But it is a strong, few words means a lot language. And I think my dog is trying to come in here.
That's so funny.
There's Ronan. Come on in. You see him?
Oh, that's so fantastic.
He is the, come on in. Nope, he doesn't want to come in. Ladies and gentlemen, he is the inspiration for the White Wolves of Belshera. And you're going to go, what's that? And I'm going to say, it's in a later book. But he is the inspiration that we modeled that type of animal, amazing creature, off of him. He's an Akita. An Akita is one generation from a wolf, one generation, and they are smart. I mean, I've had German Shepherds. An Akita is amazing. They can calculate. They're cunning like a wolf. They can reason with you.
Wow, cunning like a wolf, reasoning with you. And there's so many questions. And I know people are joining us because they have questions for you as well. We're talking, and Tony, I want to make sure that, because I know it's DUrso, correct? DUrso.
It's D apostrophe capital U, Urso or Urso. If you're in, Urso. When you go to Sicily, they'll say Urso.
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 So I kind of Americanized it, DUrso. Urso is bear, and D apostrophe, it's of the bear. So I literally translated would be Tony of the bear.
Tony of the bear, Tony of the bear, Tony DUrso. We are going to go to Facebook in just a second and move us in that direction. And I know I want to make sure it's okay with you that we beautifully have others that ask questions of you and want to hear and learn about your broadcasting skills, as well as about the book. We are celebrating your book launch, and December 5th, this incredible day, your book is out on Amazon. What does that feel like?
FYI, it appears that one of the light bulbs in this office is going out. So if you see the lights strobing, it was not intentional.
It's
Anyway,
that's a signal for the miracle makers, right? When the electricity or light bulbs start popping or energy, it means we've got the energy flow going in such a beautiful way.